Alright, YouTube, it is Mr. Mean coming at you tonight, December 10th, Tuesday night, 2019. That's right, Christmas is right upon us. Let's get some housekeeping out of the way. Let's like and subscribe. Hit me up on Discord. Hit me up on my email, jpolak@gmail.com. Feel free to reach out to me here on YouTube. I try to respond to all the messages and stuff that anybody sends me. But first and foremost, and the other part of the housekeeping is I do take donations to the channel. I'm on ZellyPay. It's usually baked in with your smart app on your phone for your banking institution if you're in the U.S. If you're outside of the U.S. and you want to donate, you can always go to PayPal Pay Me. There's a link on my YouTube channel. It's a really small icon. It's just the way YouTube does it. I don't believe I can change the size of that, but just be aware that all donations go back into the channel, and I do appreciate all of the donations. So first and foremost, let's give a couple shout outs to some new subscribers. We are at, let's see, what's the magic number here? Oh my goodness, we are at 597 subscribers. So all to you awesome guys. I couldn't do it without you guys. So first of all, some new subscribers. Anthony Miller, thank you. Big shout out for subscribing. Appreciate you, sir. Mike Lane, I think you're a new subscriber. Let's see, who else? Anybody else here? Ant DeVamp, I think we already gave a shout out to him last week. William Oliver, Daryl Hunt, Daniel Drager, and I think that's it. Oh, new subscriber, Wagner Karn. So very cool name, sir. And I think that's it. I don't think we have anybody new. And some of those I might have mentioned last week, but anyway, you got a double shout out. Thank you guys so much for subscribing. I really appreciate it. I'll talk about a couple things here tonight because I haven't posted a video in about a week or a little bit over a week. So we're gonna talk about one or two different things. First and foremost, though, the video du jour for tonight is, that's right, I got my Grady hands on it. Those of you that have been following the channel for a long time know that I'm a huge fan of Eberron. In fact, you can see the books up there on the shelf. I think you can if my fat head's not in the way. I'm not exact. Yeah, there they are. Right. Let me see. How do I do this? Right there. That's all Eberron books. All Eberron right there. So anyway, this is the new book. Came out November 2019. I'm happy to say thank you, Wizards of the Coast. It's printed in the USA. I think that's awesome. This retailed for $49.95. We are looking at 320 pages, full color, wonderful art, hardback, spiral and stitch sewn and glued, so it's going to hold up to some great use at the gaming table. This is a player and a GM book. Everybody knows, those that have watched my channel for a while know I'm a huge fan of Eberron. I have just about everything for 3.5 edition. And of course this, I'm a huge fan. So they did, I think last year or the year before, they came out with a $20 supplement on Drive-Thru RPG. Utter garbage. I didn't buy it. I did look at a copy of it and I said, nah, this is not for me. This is not what I want. I don't know if WotC was testing the water to try and see if we would pay for it. I don't think it went over very big. I heard a lot of negative reviews in my local circle, but I didn't read reviews online or anything because it was garbage and I didn't want to taint my Eberron pride with it. But this, guys, I gotta say, so far is amazing. This is the alternate cover. I think the regular cover is cool, but I went to my local game store, Level Up, and they had at least 10 copies of this, and they didn't have the regular copy. I did go to Barnes & Noble's here in Duluth, and they had the regular cover, but they did not have this cover. So I'm just sure it's what the game store decided to order. I like both covers, to be honest, but this one kind of just grabbed me a little bit more, and I like the gradient shade that it does depending on how the light's hitting it. I think it's a beautiful cover. So those that don't know what Eberron is, I'm not going to spoil it. I want you to buy the book. It is $49.95 retail. You can get it online for a little bit cheaper. I was lucky enough that my favorite local store had it, and they gave me a little bit of a discount, so I do appreciate. Thank you, Level Up Games. You guys rock. If you're in the Superior, Wisconsin area and you're looking for a really good game store, I'm going to give a shameless plug for free to Level Up Games. It's a cool little game store. And hopefully they'll start carrying a little bit more mainstream items, but it's a cool place to go and play. If you're new to the hobby and you're looking for a group to play, it's an awesome place to go. But enough about that. Let's talk about this. There's the back cover. And again, there's a Warforged out there. It is gorgeous. So what's neat about Eberron? This is from the creative genius of Keith Baker. Back in the 3.5 days, WotC had put out a call. They wanted a new IP, an intellectual property, and they put a call out to writers, designers, developers, and said, hey, make us a 3.5 setting, and we'll pick the best ones, and we'll print it. And this one won. Now, Keith Baker is a game designer, and I believe at the time he did work for WotC. Don't quote me. Or he was working in the game industry, but not necessarily working for WotC. I'm not sure. But anyway, he came up with this, and it's my default favorite setting. Unfortunately, I never liked running 3.5. I'm not a huge 5th edition fan, but I do like 5th edition. And while I love the Midgard campaign from Kobold Press, I would, if my group wants to go back to playing D&D, this is what we're playing. Midgard is great, and I'm glad I own all the books, but this is what we're playing right here. You have all your races in here. The Shifters, which is a distinct to Eberron race. This is kind of a noir intrigue role-playing game. That's not to say you can't have high combat and dungeon delving and all that stuff, because all of that does exist. But it's a magical world, and if you think about it, it's different from like Forgotten Realms or Greyhawk or Birthright or any of your old Dark Sun settings. In that it's still a fantasy RPG. You have all your races. There's still magic. In fact, magic is very heavy in here. This is where the Artificer class came from, was Eberron. And what's cool about this is magic takes the place of technology. So if you think around the 16th century, 17th century, when I guess that's, my history is a little fuzzy, when Thomas Edison discovered the light bulb, but instead of using electricity, they used magic. So obviously it happened way, way earlier because magic was already around. But instead of technology evolving and phasing out magic, if there ever was such a thing, magic became the predominant force. And so you have what's called wage mages. And they produce all kinds. These are people with very minor magical talent, and what they do is they work in factories and they create these magical items. So globes of daylight. So all your cities have street lights, and they are basically powered by a magical effect instead of electricity. This is called an airship, and what this ring is here, that ring is an elemental that's bound into the ship through a crystal. And then the captain is attuned to that crystal and the elemental, and he commands the ship, and that's how it flies. It's either an air elemental. Trains have either a fire or an electricity elemental. So we have railroads, we have steamships, or magical ships like ocean liners. So all that kind of stuff. So it's very neat where magic takes the place of technology. So there's no computers, but there is two-way instant communication, almost like a cell phone. And then there's different magical guilds that facilitate like sending messages over vast distances, and people, guilds that make these airships and stuff. And there's of course the commerce and all the infrastructure that comes along with this. And so the main city that the players are going to play in is called Sharn, the City of Towers, on the continent of Corvair. And what's nice about this is I think we're about 60 years outside of the last war. That last war was really devastating because for whatever reason, Karn, God, I can't remember now. My history's a little fuzzy. Or Seer, can't remember it, blew up, literally exploded. The whole area exploded, and I'm trying to see if I can find the exact name. Cyre, yeah, Cyre, the Mournland. It's called the Mournland now, and it exploded. Nobody knows why. There's a whole bunch of different theories. Cyre was the house of makers, or the mark of the maker. There's dragon marks, and we'll get into that a little bit. Dragon marks are basically tattoos that you're born with or manifest when you hit a certain age, whatever that age may be, and it gives you innate powers. In this case, these are the makers, so they have the ability to infuse things with life. And that's where our Warforged come from. And that's what this big guy is here. They're made out of steel, stone, and vines. But they are a living creature. They don't need to breathe. They don't need to eat. They don't need to drink. They really don't need to sleep, but they do have to take a little bit of downtime. But they were bred for war. They were created to be warriors. So there's big, small, medium, all kinds, and they are given sentience through this mark, this dragon mark of Cyre, the Mournland. But unfortunately, it blew up and killed everybody. And so now all of these Warforged, as they're called, are free now because they are sentient. All they knew before was war, and so they were happy to serve because that's what they were made for. But with the Mournlands coming about and the area of Cyre being destroyed, their infrastructure is gone, and so now they're a race with no land, and so they're just trying to make their way. Some are being mercenaries, some are being bodyguards, but some are being bakers. I mean, they're just trying to find their own way. They're very gender neutral. Most of them have somewhat of a male physique, but some of them refer to themselves as females, even though they kind of have somewhat of a male physique. So, because there is no sexuality among them, and it's really cool because you can explore that realm of, trying to figure out who you are. And in a role-playing game, I think that's very cool. So yeah, and there's a cover. There's the two different covers right there. So obviously this is the one I have, and then this is the standard cover. So not that this makes it a collectible or anything like that, but there's a whole bunch of different areas. There's a bestiary in here, friends and foes. Sharn, the City of Towers, has quite a few pages from 151 to 180. So you got about 30 pages of just information on Sharn. If they do like they did for the 3.5 days, which I don't think they're going to do, they will come out with a separate Sharn book, but I really don't think they need to because those splat books didn't have a whole lot of mechanical data in them. I mean, yeah, they had City Guard and stuff, but that's all generic stuff that you can pull out of either the Monster Manual or the GM Guide or Volos or Mordenkainen's. You have access to that information. So as a GM, I can use those old 3.5 books and still pull out relevant data like, calendars and just general information about the area. All those books would still be good because I don't think they rewrote the wheel here. I think that they're using it. So there's all the dragon marks. So let's see. Mark of making. That's the Syrians had that. And of course they are few and far between now because most of them were in Cyre when it blew up and they all died. So they're very rare. So anybody born with the mark of making is kind of highly sought after. Unfortunately, the forges that made the Warforged are all gone as well. Or are they? Dun dun dun. Because remember, this is a noir type campaign. So mystery and intrigue and investigation and all that stuff is really prominent in this. So, and they give you some information. I haven't finished reading the whole book, but it's the standard WotC configuration. It's very well done. It's very well put together. You have a whole new pantheon of gods, and I just happened to flip to the page. So we have the Blood of Vol, which are like the uber bad guys. They're bad. The Sovereign Host, which is made up of a bunch of minor gods under the Sovereign Host, and there's like your paladins, all your good guys. You have the Silver Flame, which I believe is the elves. Cults of Khyber is one of the evil there's 3 dragons. Khyber is one of them, and they're evil dragons. Then you have the Path of Light, which is obviously self-explanatory. The Undying Court, which is the elves and their minions, because their gods are their ancestors. Almost like the dwarves revere their ancestors. The elves in this setting do revere their ancestors, and their ancestors are still alive, but they're They're almost like mummies. It's hard to describe. And then the Dark Six, which is a bunch of evil gods. So there's all kinds of cool information in here. There's all the information on the gods that you need. Like I said, I'm sure they could expound upon this a lot more. They do put a nice twist on a lot of the races, the common races. So a dwarf may be born in Sharn and not speak Dwarvish. He may speak Common because he's never been to a Dwarven hold because he was born and raised in Sharn, and he may only speak Common, or he may speak a different language. So they really throw the concepts that we've come to expect in fantasy realms on their ears. So if you're looking for a shake-up and you're looking for things that are different, this is a great source book. And like I said, it is chock full of awesome art. They've done a couple cool things in here that I really like. They've given you some beginning adventures and some stuff, some maps. But I'm trying to find one of the little blurbs that they have. Oh, here we go. So the Cronenberg Chronicle, that is their generic newspaper. And so they have these spaced throughout the book, and it's just a little bit, it's like a little news blurb. You could turn it into an adventure as the GM. If you're stuck for an idea, or just flip through the book. When you see one of these, you can just pop it out and start reading it. There's all kinds of great stuff. There's a bunch of adventures in here. There's a bunch of maps and dungeons. Voice of Breland, that's the Breland's newspaper. So Borinel Seeds Western Reaches. So, some little information there that you could use to spark an adventure if you wanted to. So just lots of all kinds of charts in here. Just great stuff. Here's another Voice of Breland. Is your neighbor a Syrian invader? Because remember, Syria exploded and all the refugees had to go somewhere. So a lot of people are assuming that they're spies because the war is only about 60 years ago. So the wounds are still fresh, and the empire was at that time split, and all the other nations were all at war trying to be the one king and everything. So a lot of great intrigue in here. Like I said, a lot of courtly stuff, and the piece de la resistance. Thank you, WotC, for listening. And I know it's because Mr. Mean complained. I totally know it. And the Meanie Army raised their voices and they heard us. We have, yes, a map, a double-sided map in here. Now, it is perforated, and to be honest, I don't want to tear it out just yet because I'm going to wait until I know for sure that I'm going to be running a game, and if I am, then I'll pop it out. But until then, I can look online, and I'm sure the map is... I have my old 3.5 books, and some of them have a map. So I know I have a map of Corvair somewhere in my folder of maps. But they give you a lot of NPCs, so, a mage right... right here in Corvair, magic is part of everyday life. A chef might use prestidigitation to heat and season food, while a blacksmith uses mending to perform minor repairs and guidance to help inspire their work. Those who work minor magic into their labors are called magerites. And it goes on from there. So lots of cool information, a lot of neat NPCs, a lot of monsters that are specific to Eberron. And then you can go from there. It is just really, really neat. Just some crazy stuff in here. The Lord of Blades, he is a Warforged, lawful evil. He is, let's see, what's his challenge rating? 18. So he is worth 20,000 XP, but he's CR 18. So you better be tough. Let's see here. He can cast spells. Oh my goodness, he can do a bunch of stuff. I'm just trying to... here he has legendary actions. Multi-attack. The Lord of Blades makes 3 attacks, 2 with his adamantine 6 blade and 1 with his bladed wings. Yes, he has wings. It's to hit is plus 21 to his roll. Oh no, damage is 21. His to hit is plus 11. So his damage dice are 3d10 plus 5. Where in D&D has always done this. They give you what they consider to be the average of the die roll. So 3d10 plus 5 averages out to about 21 hit points. So every hit he's doing 21 points of damage. So that's pretty brutal. Of course, he has legendary actions. So that's just some of the NPCs and monsters that you can run in here, and they have all kinds of stuff. The Karnathi undead soldiers, which are super cool. We have psychic powers. There's all kinds of neat things, and of course, along with the Warforged, if you can make a humanoid Warforged, you can make a dog or anything else. So there's a lot of mechanical that are infused with magic that are basically, for lack of a better word, can be adversaries and or monsters. So this, guys, is a winner. I'm still reading it. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. You can see I just picked it up Saturday. I'm reading through character creation, and right now I'm reading about the Warforged because they are one of my favorite classes in the game. I thought they were so neat, so innovative, and just super cool. So I don't know if there's anything you want to know about it and you're on the fence. I would say pick it up. If you're a D&D fan, if you are a high magic fan and you want to add a little zing to your campaign, this is a great book. It's going to be hours and hours worth of information, and just the sheer fact that they have all those little clips of newspaper, basically, with like stories that you can just convert into an adventure off the top of your hat, is so great. So like I said, if my players want to go back to D&D after we're done with Infinity, we're going to jump over to Infinity from Pathfinder. I would be happy to run Eberron. This is a great setting. So just wanted to kind of show that I did pick it up. It's out. It just came out, I think November, end of November, Thanksgiving weekend. I think it came out. It hit the streets. Like I said, I was able to pick it up. So 2 different covers, standard WotC quality, map in the back, awesome double-sided map. So you can't go wrong with that. It is attached to the book. You'd have to break it out. It's perforated, so you don't have to worry about it going anywhere. It's going to stay in the book until you pull it out. So gorgeous cover. I think the regular standard edition cover is amazing as well. But definitely wanted to talk about this a little bit. What do you guys think? Do you have it? Have you read it? Had a chance to read it? Are you enjoying it? Are you going to incorporate it into your existing D&D game, or are you going to start a new campaign using Eberron? Let me know. I'd like to know what you think, your thoughts are, and what kind of adventure you're going to run with it. I think it's super cool. The other neat thing I got is Santa came a little early for Mr. Mean, and got me a new iPad Air 3, the new one. It's a funny little story. I bought the iPad. I forgot what it's called. Just the regular base iPad for $329 at Target because I didn't want to wait. Amazon was out of stock. I owned an iPad years ago and I loved it. Let's see, so you can see there's all my boop. So I'm a big fan of the Genesis, so I've got that up there. What's nice though is now you have a blank page. So if you're an iPad nut, and then I can and if you turn it back on, you can see there's my lock screen. So I did get the nice case with it, and then I did not get an Apple Pencil because I thought $100 for a pencil is outrageous. I'm sure it does a lot of cool things, but this one, I forgot who makes this one. I have it right here actually. It's Superfine Nib Active Capacitive Stylus Pen. I got it off of Amazon for like $10, I believe. And so it's here. It's USB Type C, and you just tap the little button there, and it turns it on, turns it off. And then of course it's got your standard tips. It's a pencil. I mean, it's a iPad pencil. Works great. But I've had an iPad for years, and I've loved them, and so the technology. This has got the new A13 chip in it. It's got 64 gigs RAM. I didn't need anything bigger because with cloud storage, I have OneDrive and I have Dropbox. I have more storage than I can use. This thing is amazing. It's super light. I got a real nice case. It protects it. I mean, it's not something that I plan on dropping, although if it happens, this does give it a fair amount of protection. It had really good reviews. It's by Poetic, and it has a built-in pencil holder. So if you're into that. But the funny thing is, like I said, I bought it at Target, and $329 plus tax. It was like $350 out the door, and I used it for a week, and then of course Black Friday happened, and Amazon sent me a message saying, "Hey, you've been looking at iPads," because I knew I wanted to buy one, but I didn't want to spend $600, or 400 and something, $499 or whatever the Air goes for. So I was like, well, I'll just get the regular iPad, the base model, but it had the A10 chip in it, and I was like, then after I bought it, I started reading some reviews and stuff, which I probably should have done beforehand, but they're like, ooh, the A10 chip is kind of end of life, not sure how much longer it'll be around. If you're going to buy an iPad, get the A13, because that's the new chip and it's going to be around for a long time. Long story short, Black Friday happened, and Amazon sent me a message and said, hey, you've been looking at the iPad. We've got the iPad Air 3rd generation with the A13 Bionic chip for $329. I was like, what? So I had made sure when I bought the one from Target that I could return it. They said, yes, just keep your gift receipt. If it's a present, they just have to bring this back, and we'll give them a Target gift card. Or if it's for you, we'll put it back on your credit card. So that's what I did. I bought this one. I ordered it on Amazon. I got it for the $329 price. And then I went to Target that day after I confirmed that it was shipping, because I wanted to make sure they didn't try to say, oh, we're out of stock, sorry. And then I'm completely without, because I would have kept the A10 one. It wouldn't have been what I wanted, but I would have kept it. But once I had confirmation that this is shipped and it was going to come here, I decided to return the Target one, and no questions asked. Walked right up to the line. They gave me my money right back, put it right back on my car. In fact, it dinged in my account before I even got to the car. So pretty happy about that. But what I was excited about is, actually I can show you guys, I'm going to use this at the GM table, kind of as a rules reference, because a lot of the PDFs, a lot of my games, I also manage to get the PDF copy, or I buy the PDF copy when it's available. And so like Eberron, if I run Eberron, I'm going to get the PDF and I'll have it. It'll be on here, and I'll be able to run it from my tablet. I use iBook, and you can see I've got the Genesis open right now, but it scrolls through nice and fast. It's very zippy. I don't have any problems, but I'm going to use this as a makeshift GM screen a little bit. I'm going to I've got Adobe type programs. I've got everything I need to basically put together my own customized GM screen and have it fit on an iPad. And so instead of lugging around all those books and a GM screen and everything when I go to a convention, I'm going to try it here at my home campaign, and hopefully it'll be able to work out of here. And of course, all the, obviously for consuming content, this thing is king. Nothing beats the iPad. I'm firmly convinced, because I've owned Android tablets, I've owned Fire HD Kindles. My Kindle, I've only had it 2 years, and it's basically useless now. It is so slow and sluggish, and it's not responsive, and it doesn't even hold a charge very well. I mean, I'm going to reformat it and give it to my son and let him play with it as a tablet. I'll just strip it and put just his little games on there, and he'll get to play with it. I mean, it still works, but it's painfully slow, and I'm not happy with it. Like I said, I've had an iPad for a long time, and so I was, like I said, super happy with the iPad Air. I would have liked to have gotten the 256, but the 64 gig is I've got it, most of my apps on here. I've got several of my books on here, and I think I'm not even using more than 16 gigs total. That's including the OS and all the updates. I did go in and strip out a lot of stuff, but I guess my point here, besides rambling on about how happy I am with the iPad, is I wanted to know what apps you guys are using on your iPad. Is there anything that you can tell me? Because I'm new to GMing off of the iPad. I've never done it. But I want to give it a try, because I'm using their books, or whatever app that is for their books. I can't think of the name of it now. Let me get back to it. What is it? Reading. What is it? I don't even know what the app's called. It's whatever their book app is. This one, if anybody knows. Sorry, I'm a Mac guy and I don't even know. What's nice though is I do like that I can go to my library, and all All my PDFs are in there. And I got Coriolis in there, Against the Dark Master. Of course, my Infinity books. I'm excited. I was reading up on those. Coriolis is another favorite of mine. Degenesis, of course, is a big favorite. So really looking forward to trying this out and reading a little bit more off the iPad. The battery life on here is phenomenal. Of course, if you're like reading in the house or whatever, you turn the brightness way down. And I don't see that it's hard on my eyes or anything. So I'm really looking forward to getting some great use. I also, the other thing I found out, which is so weird, is coloring. Oh my God, with the pencil, coloring is amazing on here. And I can only imagine with the iPad Pro, that's the pencil. It's super nice. I mean, you can see it right there if the camera will focus. Super nice. And it has a nice weight to it, a nice feel to it. I don't see any weirdness of writing on the iPad like other people have complained. Oh, it doesn't feel like paper. I'm used to writing on tablets and screens and stuff at work for my job in IT. So it's no big deal to me. It doesn't bother me. I can write on it just fine. But what I really want is feel free to post down in the notes what apps you're using, what PDF apps or what Word apps, not Word, what word processors you're using on it. What do you think works really good on the iPad? Because like I said, it's got the crunching power on it, and I got plenty of memory for right now. I'm very happy with it, and so but I do want to try and use it as my GM screen. The pinch to zoom thing is flawless. You can have multiple apps open, and share the screen with them. So it's got a lot of pros. And then I wouldn't have to have that giant GM screen laying in front of me, so I can't see the players or whatever. Even the landscape ones sometimes are too tall depending on the table you're sitting at. So I wanted to facilitate, maybe lay my regular GM screen down flat and then just have this sitting in front of me. So, I'm looking like this instead of looking like this. Which would be really handy for me because I like to see my players. I like to interact with them. And this even I will give a recommendation. I've used this app for years while I had an iPad, and it was funny because I was able to see it again. It's called Dyson Dungeons, and it's for the iPad or iOS device. And what is nice about it is there's your dice, and you can just, and I'm sure you guys can hear that. And of course it'll auto calculate up there. You can set rolls, like see here, I just made a generic attack and damage die. So if I just flick that, there you go. Now so you can see it rolled a D20 and a D6 or a D12. So not only do I have my to hit, I also have my damage. So let me clear it and do it again so you guys can see it. So you can turn the sound off, you can mute it. So I rolled a 13. Of course I have 13 plus 9 is 22, and I rolled a 1 on the 12-sided die. So a plus 9 equals 10. That was just a generic, I just tried it. But if you haven't checked that out and you're looking for it, check it out. It's really awesome, and it works really well on the iPad. So that's kind of just drop my glasses. Don't do that, guys. Especially mine. They're expensive because I'm blind. I still have my review for Eclipse Phase coming. I just haven't had a chance to work on it. It's this busy time of the year at work. Hopefully over the Christmas week I'll have some time to whip out some videos. I appreciate all of you guys hanging out with me and staying tuned to the channel and all the nice comments that everybody posts. I really appreciate it. And I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I hope you have a blessed Christmas. And as always, like and subscribe. And remember, Mr. Mean says be nice.